Simelang Apsheni Ralocha Sanwanani Mulweni. My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our community. Now, just last week, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which are three countries at the heart of Africa's Sahel region, announced their withdrawal from the International Organization of La Francophonie, or OIF. Now, this organization, founded to promote the French language and to strengthen cooperation amongst Francophone countries, has become a symbol of new colonial influence in many African nations, including these three. Now, for those of us on the continent, this move resonates quite deeply because in a joint statement, right, these three countries accused the OIF of becoming a remote controlled political instrument manipulated by Paris to serve its own geopolitical interests. Now, this is a sentiment I can understand, especially when we look at how many African countries are still struggling to shake off the remnants of colonialism and the control that former colonizers still exert. And Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger were actually founding members of the OIF. And for 55 years, they contributed to strengthening the organization. But despite their involvement, the trio expressed frustration at the selective sanctions imposed on them after the popular overthrow of the former French-backed regimes, which were governments that were seen as puppets and running the wheel of the colonial power rather than serving their own people. And in each of these countries, mass protests called for the expulsion of French troops, and the armies, which had long been seen as instruments of the state, sided with the people, overthrowing what many viewed as oppressive governments. Mali in 2020, Burkina Faso in 2022, and Niger in 2023. And each of these uprisings was driven by a collective desire for freedom and for self-determination and for the end of foreign interference. And yet, instead of supporting these countries in their efforts to forge new paths, the OIF and other Western-backed institutions like ECOWAS quickly responded with sanctions and suspensions. And if you ask me, it's hard not to see this as an attempt to undermine their sovereignty because the OIF claims it's for peace and cooperation and solidarity. But when these countries wanted to move forward on their own terms, they were punished. I mean, this is exactly why the Alliance of Sahel states came together. Instead of bowing down to the pressure from ECOWAS, another Western-linked institution, these nations formed their own military pact and a confederation. And in what I think is quite a bold move, they withdrew from ECOWAS earlier last year. And so I feel a sense of pride seeing these countries take a stand. African nations have been subjected to external influences, often in the form of economic pressures or military interventions disguised as peacekeeping. But the tide is shifting, and Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are showing the world that they will no longer be pushed around. And it's also worth noting that in 2023, Mali moved to elevate its African languages as the official languages, demoting French to just a working language. Now, this is a powerful step towards decolonization, and it highlights the growing movement across the continent to reclaim African identity and heritage. And what happens next for OIF remains uncertain, with its growing irrelevance in the face of shifting political landscapes across West Africa. Its influence is waning fast, and as these three nations move forward, one can only hope that others on the continent will find the courage to follow suit. These countries have chosen the hard but necessary path of standing for themselves and their people. And I believe as an African, this is just the beginning. What are your thoughts on this? Please, let's continue our conversation in the comment section. I really want to hear what your thoughts are on this. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again, it is goodbye.